and welcome to the Education Point. And this is Star TV, and I'm your host Kutubo Sane. Thank you for joining us. In case you want to chip in for sponsorships, you can contact Star TV in marketing, and also you can follow us on our Facebook page, and that is the Education Point. And this is the seventh episode of the Education Point, and on this platform, we are going to continue to spark in discussions that are around the education policy 2016-2030 of this country, and also the education system generally. But also our discussions will be in line with SDG 4 and other national, continental, and international frameworks. So we are going to continue to have those discussions as to the prospects, the challenges, and and in many aspects of the education, especially that where access, relevance, and also quality education is concerned. So we have been bringing officials, but we'll continue to do so. And today with me in the studio, I have a special guest who is a linguist and also a veteran English language teacher, who is no other than Mr. Ibrahima Esba. And thank you very much, Mr. Ba, for joining us. You are welcome to Star TV, the Education Point.
Thank you very much, Kutubo.
So Mr. Ba is a veteran language teacher who is a teacher by profession in the areas of English language and literature in English language. He's a writer, in fact, a prolific writer, and also the PRO of the Writers Association of the Gambia. He's a researcher and political and civil society activist, and also the chairman for advocacy for the Gambia democracy and civil rights. But Mr. Ba has taught across the country. He has taught in several schools in the country. Mr. Ba, since 2005, Mr. Ba has been teaching. In fact, he started teaching at Kauri Junior Secondary School. He also taught at Sangajol Junior Secondary School, Kotu Junior Secondary School, SDA, and also Charles Fowl Senior Secondary School, Presentation of Mary St. Vincent Senior Secondary School, until he also served as a language and culture facilitator for the UN Peace Corps. And Mr. Ba was also at Civic International, where he taught as an English language teacher. So that could explain the wealth of experience and knowledge when it comes to English language with me in the studio. Mr. Ba, this is quite impressive. And thank you. We are much glad to have you here. And then today we are going to have a discussion around the issue of the decline in the performance of students in English language at WASSCE. Very recently, we have seen a release from the ministry saying that the number of candidates with credits in in English language, it has declined. And according to the ministry, and I quote, the trend has been observed in the past 3 years. And however, they say the MOPSI is committed to addressing this issue by enhancing the proficiency of students in English language. So basically, if you look at this press release and if you look at the statistics from the past 3 years, you will come to realize that there is a serious decline, or there is a significant decline in the performance of students in English language when it comes to school leaving examination. As a veteran language teacher and as a successful English language teacher who has taught and make a solid name for yourself in this area in the country, what's going to be your assessment? What's wrong? What is wrong with what went wrong and where?
Yes, thank you very much, Kutubo. I think this is a very, very important topic, and I wish we had audience across the entire country, especially people who find themselves in the area of education, to watch this, to be part of this
Episode.
When you talk about the problems militating against the performance or successful performance of students in English language examinations, you have a multitude, a whole assortment of factors responsible. Factors responsible for this shortcoming can range from the ministry down to the classroom situation. They can be shortcomings in terms of policy problems. They can be structural problems. They can be administrative problems. They can be inspectorate problems, they can be motivational problems, they can be methodological problems,
Problems.
they can be curricular problems. And when we talk about the motivational part of it, we are looking at both teachers and students. The resourceful part of it will affect the teacher, the administration, the regional office, the ministry, and the students themselves, the learners. So you have a multitude, a whole assortment of factors responsible for these shortcomings. I don't think 1 hour would suffice enough for us to, but we will just
Do justice.
try to make a hit
Okay.
on each and every one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Until then, if you want to chip in,
Okay. So
you can take them one
after the order, yes. In fact, I was going to say that, and I want to be on record to say that we reach out to the ministry to actually get them here to actually represent the stakeholder part of this problem. What at their level, what are they doing? So, but we are not able to have them here. So, but like you talk about multitudes of factors. Now, let us be very specific to maybe a main factor or maybe each of these factors as in relation to this failure that we are talking about here.
very well. Where do we begin? Do we begin from the regional office or the ministry, or do we treat them whole? Let's talk about the policy, the problem in terms of policy and administration. We have the Ministry of Education responsible of fostering education to the Gambian
People.
That is the institution, that is the custodian of effective and formidable education to be fostered to the Gambians. And it is their ultimate responsibility to make sure that structures are put in place, institutions are put in place from the ministerial level to the grassroots classroom level. And these structures and institutions must not only be in place and it remains at that, they must be functional. First of all, the ministry is a decision maker, it's a policy maker. When policies are made, they are brought down to the other subordinate institutions for implementation. That's why you have the regional office. That's why you have the school administration. Okay, but we are talking about performance in WAEC exams here, so WAEC should be a stakeholder. So we have the regional office, the school administration, and the WAEC as an examination institution should work collaboratively to ensure that effective service delivery in the area of English language teaching is fostered effectively at the classroom level if they want to curb the reoccurrence of bad performance in English language examinations.
Okay.
I am sure if they were here, they will tell you brilliant ideas as to what measures they have put in place. But Gambia, we have a problem. We have constructive ideas to put in place, but we have problems with performance.
Okay.
Implementation.
So, Mr. Bao, I want to come in there. Like you talking about the exam council working collaboratively with the ministry to be able to curb this problem of decline when it comes to performance of students in English language. So, but someone could argue that the work is just an examination body. After all, whose interest is only to maximize profit, so that at the end they will register them for private WASSCE classes, and then they will have money.
Yes, I think that is in fact what obtains. Very well, that is the response they will give you, because I could remember, I'm not supposed to disclose myself as a wife examiner, but I had been one before, and during our coordination exercises, I suggested this to them, that, there are certain technicalities here having to do with a hidden curriculum at the WAEC examination level that not all English teachers know at the classroom level. And I think if English teachers should be upskilled with this knowledge and skills, they would be able to include them in their methodology to ensure that they coach the
Students.
students, the white candidates, effectively to be able to reflect those examination conventions, those
Or
examination
techniques.
technicalities and requirements that will help them to pass examinations. For example, I thought this was a place we will last
Looked
with,
at.
but let us start with
Okay,
it.
okay, okay.
For example, the English language
Mm.
has three major areas
Mhm.
in the theory:
Mm.
the essay writing,
Mhm.
the letter writing,
Mhm.
the summary,
And the comprehension.
Four. Let's look at the essay writing, for example. Why examination conventions have mapped out a, how do they call it, a marking scheme, a criteria that the examiner uses to mark essay writing exercises of candidates in the exams. So that marking scheme has certain elements that need to be reflected in the literature, the essay that the student produces at the examination table. For example, I will not disclose this scaling exactly, but let us give it a functional dimension here. You have what you call the content, the organization, the expression part,
The
and
MA
the mechanical accuracy part of your essay. This is the marking scheme that the examiner is given and assigned to mark against the background of when he is. So, if the examiner looks at the essay of the student, he develops eyes for content, for organization, for expression, and for mechanical accuracy. And the essay is marked out of 50%. Ultimately, this 50 will be distributed among those elements
criteria
of the marking scheme. Say, for example, content is marked out of 50. Organization is marked out of 10, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not disclosing.
I understand. Yeah.
Is marked out of 10.
10.
Expression is 15 and mechanical accuracy is 10. All together will be 50 over 50.
Absolutely.
So, the examiner puts this marking scheme aside and looks at the essay that is in front of him. He is marking it and checking for content. Is content reflected in the essay adequately enough to grab the points allocated for content on the marking scheme? So, if content is 50, does the child know how to reflect content? Does the child know in the first place what is required? What does content mean? And what does it mean to reflect content in the essay? The child does not know. 90% of candidates who write examinations at senior secondary school level don't know this.
Okay. So again, where do we apportion this ignorance? Is it on the side of the examination council, on the teachers, or on the student?
That's where I am driving at. Still, the shortcoming or the blame should be apportioned. The administration is responsible. The cluster monitor inclusive, the school principal, and the teacher himself. Because the school administration should have known what are these technicalities and requirements of WASSCE examiners in the scripts of the students that would enable the students to grab the mark required and get a good result in English. It is the task of the school administration to go all out to make sure they know all the pros and cons. It is supposed to be a researcher's office, a diagnostic office. So, let me move on. The many teachers, like I said, the the candidate does not know what content is and how to reflect content, does not know what organization is and how to reflect it, does not know all these characteristics or ingredients or elements of an essay. And the teacher who taught him in preparation for the exams does not know it either. The teacher may know all the academics, everything about English, and will teach you all the English he knows. But if he does not know how to teach you to be able to reflect these elements in your essay, they will not be there, and the marks allocated to them will not be given to you because you have not reflected them in your essay. So it is important that teachers know, teachers have the examination experience. WASSCE examination experience is very important.
Okay.
Once they know this, they will be able to use that marking scheme and reflect it in their teaching methodology. How do I teach my students to be able to reflect content? Okay. And what is content in the
Mr. Ba, you have talked about the various stakeholders from the council down to the cluster monitors, and the school administration, and now you are talking about the teachers. Now, where do you place the teachers in this? Don't you think this has also to do with the quality of teachers, teaching English language, one, and also the motivation of the people, the teachers that are involved to be able to guide these people to exams?
Exactly, yeah. The quality of teachers definitely matters. Because if you look at the products of the Gambian country, the type of teachers you find in the classroom today themselves are not resourceful enough in their respective areas. I am not generalizing. Gambian products, I'm sorry, I am one myself. I'm not generalizing, but majority of them are not resourceful enough to deliver what they are supposed to deliver to get these students succeed in exams in their respective areas. Like a grade 12 student going through the college, coming to the senior secondary school, who has not known all these technicalities about the curriculum, will not deliver as per those requirements in the curriculum. So definitely the student will know all the grammar. The student will know everything about tenses and all that, but may not know how to reflect all these elements in the essay and will not grab the mark or points allocated to each and every one of them.
Yes.
So what is important here, even if the teacher himself is not very much adequately grounded in English language in terms of mastery, but has this technical experience or as a marker or an examiner with WASSCE and knows this, will be able to tailor his methodology to include that and to upskill the students to be able to reflect them in their essays. They will be able to pass the exams.
Okay, so that is all about the. I think that's it's about teacher quality that you're talking about there. You are a successful English language and literature teacher, and while at CBEC International, you've made a name for yourself, and I think that does not only limit to the source of this country, but even beyond, because you are part of the people who has achieved something for that international school, thereby attracting an award for the school. So, what do you think could be done to be able to help the situation of the decline in the performance of students in English language? What do we need as a country, or as an educational institution?
Yeah, before we digress from the point that we've been talking, let me talk about what we need to redress.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, my point.
In that focus.
Okay.
Let school administrators urge their English language teachers to at least try to have experience marking with WASSCE exams. Marking WASSCE exams with WASSCE. And if they are unable to,
so I think that should be difficult, sort of. Why not have, like you said in the beginning, collaboration?
That is where I'm coming to. Where that is impossible, if I were a school principal, I will have to cajole or solicit the cooperation of WASSCE at least go into some training contract with my school, that they should help train my English teachers on the marking scheme, the marking criteria, and the scaling of marking to the various elements used in the marking exercise of English language. Let there be a workshop, for example, that WASSCE would organize across schools and talk to teachers and show them in the same manner as we do when we are conveyed for coordination. Before marking, examiners will be conveyed at Gambia High School, and they will be trained on how to mark using that one marking curriculum, that marking scheme. So if the same thing can be done in the form of a workshop at school levels, coordinated and facilitated by WASSCE officials and the principal of the school, that would be very helpful.
Absolutely.
All the English teachers will be trained, even if they are not examiners, they would know
the technicalities.
Yes, those technicalities that they need to tailor around their teaching methods to help upskill students to be able to reflect those requirements in their essay writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that can be done to solve that problem partially.
Okay.
The other thing that can be done is at administrative
level. Okay.
The school principals, I don't know whether that is what still obtains at public school levels, because I have not been in the public school for decades, obviously, to be honest. And when I taught, during my first year teaching actively in the public school, the school I went to, I will not disclose the school here, but when I went there, I was supposed to be the English teacher and teacher in literature in English. The first thing I did was to walk to the administrative office and ask for the WASSCE curriculum.
Okay.
Where is the English language and literature curriculum for the school? The first question the principal asked me is, what do you mean? What is WASSCE curriculum for? I said, what? So you want me to just come and the textbooks are here? I said, no, not all the textbooks. The textbooks do not provide for all the curriculum areas from which questions
Why require?
For why? So let us look at the mapped out curriculum by WASSCE and we try to teach in accordance with that. And in fact, it is the responsibility of the school administration to make sure they assign senior teachers the inspection responsibilities to make sure that teachers are given these curriculum documents and are teaching in accordance with them.
That. Okay.
They should ensure that their senior teachers know how much or how far have the respective teachers in their respective classes gone into the syllabus, to be able to determine whether the syllabus will also be exhausted before the time of the exams. But all these things are just, the structures are there, but they are non-existent. So I was the first person to go to WASSCE to get the WASSCE curriculum, bulky textbooks, not for only English language that year, but for all the 4 subjects. And we organized a workshop. I shared that with them. And these senior teachers were given the copies for the various subjects to at least involve the subject teachers to be able to teach in accordance with that curriculum.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for the first time in the history of
that school,
they produced aggregate 6 in that batch. I am not blowing my own trumpet, but when it is necessary,
it is.
Yes, and this school, for the first time in the history of that school, they had a substantial number of students who got aggregate 6, to the point that the president, then it was Yaya Jammeh, invited those students, the best students of that list, to go to state schools. And 2 of them were awarded scholarships to the university. One of them is now working at the regional office, at the curriculum department of the regional 1 office. That was my grade 9 student, and I am proud to say that. So I was the first to register that result
for that school,
that particular school. And I don't think there has been any other teacher team in the English department who came to break that record. Maybe I need to find out.
Okay. So you know, in the again, when you talk about that, when you talk about the failure of the school, various school administrations, for not doing that, for also not, you know, trying to accredit their teachers to WAEC syllabus. But some of them will always say, like your former principal will say, like the textbooks are here. What do you need again? So what is the role of the ministry in this? Because they also have regional structures. On top of that, they have cluster monitors that should be going around to schools and check some of these things. So is it the fault of that is those people? Is it not happening?
It's not happening.
You talk about inspectoral failure.
That is
Yeah, very well.
where we talk about the coordination flaws, the coordination shortcomings and problems. Because, like I cited the example of the school principal and the senior teachers. School principal or senior teachers, it is your responsibility in the various core disciplines to make sure that your teachers teach in accordance with this.
And these are the curricular areas from which questions will be drawn for why. So you are responsible for science. Make sure your science teachers exhaust the syllabus. Give them a timeline. Make sure your English teachers exhaust the syllabus. Give them a timeline. Make sure the maths teachers likewise. These three senior teachers should be assigned, they should coordinate with the principal. And the principal should be the lead coordinator in that. I want English syllabus to be finished, or at least your teacher should go 3/4 into the syllabus before the exams are due. So you coordinate that with the English teacher. And come back to report to me which teacher it is at which topic area into the syllabus every week or every month. You, head of English language department. If you fail to do that, you have an axe to grind with me, the school principal. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Do you think that head of English language department, having been assigned that task and responsibility and given the document,
there will be continuous monitoring,
very good,
teaching and learning
you
in accordance with the
Prevail on them. At the end of the week, if you are expecting them and they are not forthcoming, call them and try to manage to put on an unfriendly face, an uncompromising face. Tell them, wow, I was expecting
you yesterday, you never came, so come today. How far? Where is the assignment I gave you? Where are the records? Where are the evidence? Then he would be obliged to produce, to also prevail on the English language teachers to make sure they show evidence of the fact that they are teaching according to the syllabus. Their lesson plans, their schemes of work. And not stop to that, but to witness by themselves, because we teachers are very good at giving very constructive lesson plans and scheme of, and not executing them or actualizing them in the classroom level. So English language head, go sit there, inspect your teachers, see them teach in accordance with the. So you have that effective supervision, you the English head of department, with the principal. The principal, the same obligation should bind the principal with the cluster monitor, with the regional office in turn with the ministry. There should be that chain.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So it would be a performance contract sort of. The performance that is expected of the English teacher with the principal is the same relationship with the regional office, with the ministry. So at the end of the year or at the end of the month, let the ministry also call for reports.
So with that, we head to our first break. And, I am your host Kutubo Sane, and my guest this afternoon is Mr. Ibrahim Esba, a veteran English language and literature in English language teacher, who is here to talk to us about the decline in the number of students in English language at WASSCE. Recently, we have seen the press release that talks about the past 3 years. The ministry says this trend is making on for the past 3 years. And this year they said, in fact, even in mathematics, seems to be a problem for most Gambians, but the ministry is reporting that there is an increase in mathematics by 110 students compared to last year. So, we must have to diagnose and see what really happened with English language.
If mathematics can be increased in terms of performance to 110 students compared to last year. So,
I'm not sure. Let me just chip in there. I think the diagnosis here is self-explanatory. Mathematics is taught through the medium of English language.
Absolutely.
So where English language is at a shortcoming, maths is excelling, There is a big
There's a
question mark.
question mark. Absolutely.
Means those technicalities, those examination technicalities are the ones devoid in the system under pedagogy.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely. So we'll with that we'll head to our break. Then when we return, we are going to delve more into what really happened, what really went wrong, and some of the answers that that Mr. Ba can provide for the audience. So be with us. Welcome back after that short break, and this is the Education Point, and I'm your host Kutubu Sani, and Mr. Ibrahim Espa is my guest this afternoon, and we are talking about before the break. We were talking about the issue of the decline in the number of students in English language. So, Mr. Ba, before the break, we were talking about the some of the factors that are possibly responsible for this decline, and we left it at a point where we talk about the issue of increase in mathematics and a decline in English language. I think this is a point that we need to critically look at and see. Let's have a comparative analysis of how could this be the case.
Yeah, because
mathematics is taught using English as a medium of communication. So where English language is not thriving and maths is succeeding, I mean, the only likely possibility is that what we were talking about having to do with the marking scheme and the elements that need to be included, which are examination conventions in the scripts or exercises written by the students, are the ones that are lacking. Yeah, because if this candidate has very good proficiency in English language, is very eloquent and can write constructive English, but does not know how to reflect content in the essay, will not grab 15 if content is made out of 15, does not know how to reflect organization, which is orderly presentation of material, will write all the good English but will fail to grab the 10 allocated for orderly presentation of
And
material.
the same child is able to understand the instruction in English language for mathematics.
Yes.
Understanding the question and still get a pass would fail English language.
Yes, that is what he has failed to do. He might have written, let's be a little more analytic here. Let's say knowing content is very important because, for example, you may have a topic that says, write an essay about your first journey abroad, explaining the preparations you had made for it, the experiences you had on the way, and how you were received upon arrival. That becomes the topic, for example.
Yes.
What is content? How do we reflect the content of this topic? Content in this topic should be those points that you are assigned to talk about when you write the essay. And these are 3 in this topic.
Relevance to the topic.
Yes. So what is the content of this particular topic? Is the preparations you made for the journey, the experiences you had on the way, and how you were received upon arrival.
Yeah.
These are the content of the essay topic that you were supposed to write. So if your essay talks about preparations alone, and you wrote 4 pages on that, you will have only, and content is marked out of 15.
Okay, 15, yes.
And there are 3 content points. So that 15 will ultimately be dissected and distributed among the 3 content points. So each point will carry 5 marks. So preparations 5, experience is 5, arrival 5. But you wrote about preparations alone and you wrote 3 pages. You have only 5 and you lost 10 for content. With good English for that matter, but you are only able to get 5 for content because there are 3 content points and your essay topic contains only 1 content point. You have ignored, you didn't say anything about your experience. You didn't say anything about how you were received. And the orderly presentation of those content points should be paragraphing. Discuss each content point in a separate paragraph. Have you been able to do that? No. Everything was riddled without any indentation or leaving a line for paragraphs. So your organization, orderly presentation of material is also affected. You will not grab that 10. So how much have you lost? 20.
20, already.
Yes. And the expressions are not looked after, are not even looked at yet. And we know how much bad English Gambian students may be able to write. So by the time your expressions are scrutinized, expressions is marked out of 15, for example, you may be able to get only 5 out of 15. That does not take you anywhere.
And comes the MA.
The mechanical accuracy is the most unfortunate part because the best students may grab nothing more than 5 out of 10. Because mechanical accuracy has a lot of things because that is where you look at capitalization, full stops, commas, disjointing of compound words, misspellings. All of them account for mechanical accuracy. Bad concord.
Yes.
So by the time your essay, you get to the last line of your 10 for mechanical accuracy may be dead because every red dot that you make for correction is minus half from the 10 for mechanical accuracy. So how many full stops dot have you failed to append? How many words, compound words, have you disjointed? However you write HOW and you write ever apart. The examiner rings it and deducts half. Fatu, you write small f for Fatu. When it is a proper noun supposed to begin with a capital letter, that is minus half. By the time you get to the last line of your 10 is dead. So you will barely have nothing more than 7 or 9 out of 50. But when you stand at the stage presenting a poem by the assembly, everyone says, oh boy, this boy is good. And when you write, your sentences are good. Grammar.
So he's still going back to the issue of
and they begin to say, nala brilliant yabe. And I 2 pages la safe essay. Bara man fen soto ja fail. These are some of the technicalities that they don't know, and their teachers themselves don't know, to be able to coach them, to include and reflect, to be able to get the points allocated for them in the marking scheme. So this is what I call the hidden curriculum. That is the hidden curriculum that why candidates should know, that English language teachers preparing candidates for WASSCE exams should know and be able to tailor their method, teaching method, according to be able to upskill the students.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that is
Very interesting, and the whole discussion is being narrowed down to the issue of technicalities that WASSCE has and they use to mark students. But the problem becomes the teachers don't know. Sometimes the admin does not even know or care to know, and then because of that, the students are left at an advantage. They are taught all the elements, all the ingredients of the language, but the technicalities for them to use to pass these exams are not there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because I conducted extra classes at college some few years ago.
I happened to teach some candidates for private WASSCE exams who were head teachers in their schools. And at our introductory lesson, when I mapped out this marking scheme and told them how we are going to go about it, this man sat down and heaved a sigh of relief and told me, Mr. Ba, before you go further,
So it means I had sat 2 times and failing. And I am a school administrator.
Oh.
I can speak good English, I can write good English. But I know now what was making me fail. I never knew this.
Wow.
And the teachers
And
never enlightened me.
and this was a school admin.
Yes, this was a deputy head in that particular school, honestly. And this was something like 2011, 2012.
Okay. So therefore, it's about time that we look at the issue of these technicalities and the criteria set by the exam council to be able to guide the students with those ones, so in order for them to pass this very easy, like because English
It's
language.
very easy.
Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah.
It's very easy.
Okay. So thank you very much for that. You are also PRO for the Writers Association of the Gambia, and we are talking about English language here, and then how poor it is in the past 3 years. So like I want to link this discussion to the issue of the issue of reading culture that we have in this country, because you hardly see people read, you know, in fact even at school levels and anywhere. So I think it is for those people who find it very hard to read, you know, be it elders, be it teachers, and coming down to students. So, you know, is this something that is affecting performance of students when it comes to English language?
Yes, because essay, we were basically talking about essay writing, but we also have comprehension and summary. If we cannot read, we cannot perform in them. And reading is a very big deficiency in the academia in Gambian public schools, we agree. And so many factors responsible as well. You're talking about motivational factors. Most Gambians don't develop the taste for reading. Most of it is largely caused by a few things having to do with our conditions of living, according to my observation. Viewers may disagree, but I think reading most of the time, reading habit can most of the time begin as a leisurely habit until you get to develop the appetite for reading and discover that reading may not necessarily be a leisurely activity. In fact, it can be something else, developmental. But it starts from leisure. Okay, how many Gambians who would have been very fluent readers or frequent readers of books for the sake of pleasure and leisure don't have the time, or don't even have leisure
At all.
or most of their time. For example, I am a teacher, and that is my profession. I receive a very meager salary. I have a family of 5 children, all of them going to school. I am obligated to get them lunch and transport every day, give them breakfast, and fare myself to my workplace. All this is money. My salaries was exhausted 3 days after receiving it. And I am back to the vicious circle of
Borrowing.
yes, and returning at the end of the month. So, if I am caged within that confines
of lack of motivation, I will not be able to focus or find leisure that will direct my attention to reading. So reading becomes unappetizing because of my condition and my mood. So there is no motivationality because of the living condition. Maybe the ministry will not be happy or the government will not be happy about this, but it's a bitter pill. We will have to swallow it. That is what obtains in the Gambian situation. So a hungry man, an empty bag cannot stand upright. An empty bag, a hungry stomach cannot read, cannot develop the reading culture. And besides that, most of the foundation skills that enable you to read and understand what you are reading are normally non-existent at the school level or at the professional level sometimes. Because you would ask the grade 11 or 12 chap, if you read a passage, how much in the passage do you understand and how much don't you understand? Always try, English teachers should always try to ask their students these questions. I always did so when I was teaching. Do you understand, when you read a passage, do you understand all that it is saying altogether? Or do you understand it 10%, 15%, 16%? That will become a quiz now. How many of you understand 50%? I'll start from 100. 100% of what you read. How much do you understand? How many of you understand 100% of everything that you read? No hand is up. 90%, no hand is up. Hands will begin to be raised when you get to 45%, 47%, 30%, 20%. So most of what they read, they don't know. So if there is something that should instill pleasure and adventure in you as you read, they don't know. The reading becomes unappetizing. The material becomes unappetizing to them. And if that is how every material you pick up to read is like, how do you develop reading culture?
So in return, this will reflect on the performance of students when it comes to English, because in writing you must have to have words. You need a vocabulary to be able to write, to be able to bring in ideas, compose them well, and then you will be marked well for the content and all of that.
Very well. And in order to solve that problem, solve that situation,
I think there are very simple methods that teachers can employ. How do you make the reader understand what they are reading? You don't read and explain to them. That is spoon feeding, and they know only what they are told today. When they encounter another text tomorrow that you have not taught them yet, how do they know? Don't teach me how to know what you are telling me, but how to know what else lies ahead of me. And most of us teachers, Gambian teachers, that is how we teach. James walks to school every day. Acha, want a karandirti. So what you help to do to get them understand what they read may not even be a reading exercise, in fact. It may be like an active quiz exercise that involves a little writing by you, the teacher. Get them a paragraph, or if you want, write them a long complex sentence of 3 lines, 4 lines on the board, and tell them, do we understand what is being explained or communicated in this paragraph? Some of them would say, yes, I know. Yes, I know. Ask them, what do you know? What is this line saying? What is that sentence saying? Get them participate first. And then the next thing you do is write a lot of interpretations, a list of interpretation of the same text. This
From
text,
students?
yes, no, from yourself.
Okay.
This text says, you put dot dot and put 1, 2, 3, up to 10. Right? It says that school is very interesting, that maths is very important. Write true or false questions for them. Make a list of sentences that interpret that text. Put some of them false, put some true.
To see.
Yes. So, go through that exercise with them. Is number 1 true about the text? How many of you think so? Create a quiz, boys and girls. If you say true and it is true, I give you 5 for your group. They will compete. Number 1 is not true. The text is not saying that. Number 1 says the text is talking about a garage encounter, and it is not. Which word is talking about garage? Which sentence is talking about apprentice here? No, it is number 2 is correct, because you know they will outline, they will identify all these interpretations that are true and that are false. So as they identify which one is true and which one is false, tell them to justify. You said number 2 is false. How do you justify that number 2 is false? They will justify for you. And if they are unable to explain in English, give them the liberty to talk about their answers in local language. I used to do that. And there was a time my senior teacher almost reprimanded me for that before my explanation at CBEC. You are allowing them to use vernacular. I said, hey, this is English language. It's a language class. Sometimes they need to be left at their comfort zones to bring out what they want to express, their opinions. If they are not comfortable in English, don't suppress them and deny them or compromise them. Allow them to explain it in their language. And after the whole show, help them to explain it back in English at remedial exercises. So leave them at their comfort zone. Let them explain. After that exercise, you are helping them to develop that critical decoding of any paragraph or any sentence that they read. In sentence of you see, they have intuitively developed it. That is what you inculcate in them. Where you are not,
so
that skill you have given them will remain with them, and they will use it to approach any text that they encounter, and they will challenge themselves to understand. That is how you teach students to be able to read and compare, challenge themselves to understand what they are reading.
So, Mr. Ba, you are a PRO for the Writers Association of the Gambia. So, but I think we leave that to another day when it comes to writing and stuff like that. So, finally, we talk about a lot of problems here, and then you also provide a lot of solutions, you know, but and also some of the challenges and then what need to be done. So, finally, what are you going to say regarding this whole issue of the decline in English language? What need to be done finally?
Anyway, administrative logistics and regulations should be established and be insistently and consistently adhered to.
What do you mean by that?
Both at the school administrative level, the regional level, and the ministerial level. Let them go into research to diagnose. You know, I am only talking about my opinions here. They may be the real situation that obtains, but let them go into research and see if there are additional problems.
Okay.
And compile these and proffer solutions to them. And those solutions will ultimately lead them to revisit their institutions, their structures, their supervisory schemes, their administrative methods, the teaching methodology, the senior teacher, classroom teacher, supervision relationship, and the senior teacher, head teacher, supervision relationship in accordance with the curriculum, to make sure that the curriculum is delivered to the letter and that it is exhausted or almost exhausted before the exams, and then to see how effective it was how effectively it was administered at the classroom level, whether it had significant impact that would enable the child to be able to exercise and earn success in results. If that administrative and supervisory mechanism is put in place at the school administration and teacher level, let that same mechanism transcend between the school administrator, the regional office, and between the regional office and the ministerial level, so that the classroom school teacher, English language teacher, will be answerable to the senior, head of the English language department, who will in turn be answerable and report to the principal. The principal will report to the regional office. The regional office will be compelled to report to the ministry. And the reports, each higher authority should insist on no room for failure, because they would have provided and mitigated failure substantially. And let them justify no room for failure, because if it is training, the training would be rendered. If it is the materials, let them be. If it is motivation, I think that will take us decades, because when we talk about salary or emoluments and all that, it will anyway. So, but I think these are some of the mechanisms.
Very interesting there, and I think these are very, very good opinion, and also great solutions that if properly looked at will really get us the result that we required. So thank you very much, Mr. Abba, for answering to our call. And this is going to be the start of many more engagements, because we know you are engaged in a lot of things aside the teaching and also the advocacy part. So, but also you are with the Riders Association of the Gambia. So this will be a start of many more encounters that we are going to have on this platform. So thank you very much for actually answering to our call. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. So that was Mr. Ibrahima Espa, veteran English language and literature in English language teacher, on the decline in performance of students in English language. I have been your host, Kutu Sane, and this is the Education Point. Thank you so much for joining us.